Good morning, students. Today I will discuss on the character of Feste and his role and responsibilities, and how so far the character is important so far as the text of this particular play, that is 12th Night, is concerned. And obviously I will refer to the three of the most important songs that are performed by Feste, and how so far the formations of music, that means the role of music, is taking part in the structure of 12th Night, and how 12th Night achieves the greatest impetus of the romantic comedy with the help of these particular songs, or with the help of this form of music that have been performed by Feste. Now, to be specific, when we deal with the character of Feste, Feste is one of the most important characters of this play. As I have already mentioned in my previous lectures, that 12th Night is set on, mostly 12th Night is set on two of the households, you see. That the first one is that of Olivia, and the second one is that of Duke Orsino. So we can get the two households, and along with them we can find that the characters that have been mostly being associated, they are related with the household of these two. That means the first one is related to Olivia and the second one is related to Duke Orsino. So somehow, if we focus on the patterns of writing that Shakespeare is implicating here in this particular play, we will find that the characters who have been projected, who have been presented in this play, the characters are taken from the upper strata of society. As I've just mentioned, that the characters are coming from either from the household of Lady Olivia or maybe Duke Orsino. So therefore you can find that the characters have their direct references, the direct link with these two households, or maybe the upper strata of society. But fundamentally, if we try to focus on the patterns of characters that have been introduced by Shakespeare in 12th Night, you will find that there are a group of characters. For example, say if we make a division between these, so far as the social perspectives are concerned, or so far as the materialistic perspectives are concerned, that means the class orientation, obviously, that I'm trying to focus, you will find that somehow there are a group of characters who are belonging to the upper strata of society. There are personages who are related to those group, actually. But there is a single character, what I'm trying to focus here, the single character, the fool, that is the clown, that who have been mentioned as clown, quote unquote clown, in this particular play. You will find that somehow this particular character, whose name is Feste the fool, Feste, Feste. So this particular character Feste, he has his direct association with the society outside these households, right? So ultimately you will find that somehow Shakespeare, if you think of Shakespeare, you will find that Shakespeare was also belonging to the particular class who had to sell his art to earn his livelihood. That is the fundamental reason why Shakespeare wrote his plays, you know. It is not for the art's sake. Rather, he was with the particular view that I have to sell my art to earn my livelihood. Here you can find that Feste, okay, as the name actually being operated, that Feste, this particular character, you know, the term Feste is also has its association with festivity. And as 12th Night is a festive comedy, a comedy that was made to be performed during a festival, as I have already discussed about them. It is the Epiphanic festival that to be performed on the 6th January, okay, the night of the 6th January. That is the 12th night after 25th of December. So that's why the fundamental focus of this particular play is to arouse the festive impact here. And ultimately you will find that the name Feste, it might have some association with the patterns of festivity, to be general. Now, what I'm trying to suggest here, that Feste, the fool, though he has been mentioned in the play as clown, and we have a foreknowledge of the term clown, that somehow we try to refer to a clown with the patterns of a buffoon, or maybe the buffoonery tendencies. You see that the meaningless words that have been used by those characters, and somehow it evokes some kind of laughter in us, And we know that laughter is the chief essence, the chief ingredient of comedy, and the cause of laughter is superiority complex, and ultimately we laugh at somebody by thinking ourselves superior to the behavior or to the person. Okay, so this particular ideology that I am superior to this man, or maybe the ludicrous situations, or maybe the incongruous situations, the incongruity on which I must laugh, that particular trend and tendency has to be negated here dealing with Feste. Why? Because you cannot consider Feste to be a character who is suffering from any kind of inferiority. You will not find Feste to be a character like a buffoon. You will not find Feste's words to be meaningless. These are not to be considered these are not to be meant to create a kind of ludicrous interpretations. Rather, we can find that somehow, as Feste is belonging to the lower strata of society, as Feste is directly linked with these two parts of society, that is the upper strata of society, represented by characters like Duke Orsino, Lady Olivia, and others who have been related with the household of these two, or the second one that have been related with the normal livelihood, you see. That's why Feste is choosing these songs. You will find that the songs that are performed by Feste, these are somehow related. For example, so there is a particular song which is related with the weaver's song you can find. Okay, I will come to this later. So fundamentally, you will find that Feste has the foreknowledge of these two societies in general. That means at one point you will find that he has the knowledge about the upper strata of society. At another point you will find that he has the knowledge about the lower strata of society. He knows everything about the livelihood. He knows how to earn money, okay, and how to sell his art. And he is the situation seeker, you see, that in each and every situation where he finds the opportunity, he tries to earn some money, because it is the bread, it is the food that is the fundamental focus of Feste's actions, you see. So what I'm trying to suggest here, that Feste's words are not to be considered as it is simply to create some kind of laughter or evoke laughter within the mind of the spectators, or within with the readers, or maybe the characters who are present along with Feste at this moment, like Maria, or maybe Sir Toby Belch, or maybe Andrew Oxley, or maybe the Fabian, or these kinds of characters. So, because you will find that somehow the words of Feste, okay, these are very important, because these have double implications that I am trying to suggest. At the surface reality, at the surface meaning, you will find that yes, it is fundamentally trying to focus at something that might create a kind of a ludicrous situation. At another point, you will find that these are politically loaded words to some extent. Why? Because these are actually commenting on the situations. These are actually commenting on the patterns of livelihood. It is actually commenting on, the particular patterns of the human psyche in general. Let us discuss the first scene where we can find Feste being present. What it represents. There is a particular particular conversation going on between Maria and Clown. I will show you how Feste's words are loaded with some philosophy, or Feste's words are loaded with some, complex political thoughts, you see. But though at the very advent, or at the very beginning, you will find that Feste, these words are creating some kind of laughter among the audience. As I've already mentioned earlier, that somehow the Shakespearean audience, typically the main audience, are to be considered as the persons who are the groundlings in general. That means the characters who are coming from the lower strata of society, they are the one penny entrancer, and that's why the vulgarity, okay, the vulgar tongue, you will find. These are somehow very important so far as Feste's words are concerned. And obviously, you will find that in each and every kinds of comedies, there are some sexual implications, the overt form of sexual implications. Why? Because the vulgar tongue is needed to create some interest, or maybe a kind of an enjoyment to the persons who are related to the throne, or related to the theater at that moment. That means the one penny entrancer, or maybe the groundlings who are just standing beside the stage, or in front of the stage, and they try to enjoy the performance to be performed on stage, therefore. So here you will find that it is, I'm reading from 12th Night, that is the book of 12th Night, and it is Act 1 and Scene 5, and here you can get Maria and Clown, and a particular kind of an encounter is going on. Maria says nay. So what happens, that Feste was absent from this particular household for so long, and now Feste enters. So it might be possible that that Lady Olivia, was in a query about Feste, that why he is so long absent. And Maria, and now the Clown enters, and Maria says him or tells him. What says? Maria says, nay, either tell me where thou hast been, or I will not open my lips so wide as a bristle may enter. In way of the excuse. That means either you have to tell me where you were, or why, or what is the reason of your absence, or I will not say anything about the situations, or maybe what Lady Olivia was thinking about you or so. My lady will hang thee before thy absence. The Clown says, let her hang me. And then the politically loaded words, as I mentioned just now. He says, he that is well hanged in this world needs to fear no colors. You see that these words are somehow not superficial observations. What Feste says here. He says, he that is well hanged in this world needs to fear no colors. What does the term color actually signify? Color is referring to the flags. And you will find somehow there are different kind of colors, different kinds of emblems, different kinds of, say, flags, that could represent a different household, that could represent a different, say, kingship, or maybe different monarchy or monarchical rule. So somehow Feste says that in this particular world, I have to face different kinds of problems, or the persons like us, the persons like me, you can find that the persons are coming from the lower strata of society, that they are always, quote unquote, living and partly living. That means they are being engaged in different kinds of fear to different kinds of colors. That means different kinds of whether you may think in terms of monarchical rules, or maybe the powerful households, or maybe the barons, or you may think about the political regime that had been taken into consideration. So therefore he says that let her hang me. He that is well hanged in this world need to fear no colors. So there is no need for colors anymore, to fear the colors anymore. And Maria says, oh, make that good. He shall see none to fear. That means that the person will be a fearless man, because if he can succumb to or embrace, death ultimately, then there is no particular kind of a fear to be feared of. So the Clown says, he shall see none to fear. Maria says a good answer. I can tell thee where that saying was born, I fear no colors. Maria is also, as I've already mentioned, that Maria was the second person of this particular play who was to be considered as intellectual, or maybe the intelligent woman at this moment. She says, I can identify, I can say from where this particular word comes, or this phrase comes. I fear no colors. And Clown says, where, good Mistress Mary? In the words, obviously. And that may you be bold to say in your foolery. Clown says, well, God give them wisdom. Now again, this is another question, or another particular a very powerful wording that the Clown says. He says, God give them wisdom that have it, and those that are fools, let them use their talents. So what you can find here, somehow this particular word, or maybe these speeches, are telling us something about the critical temperament of Shakespeare, because the fool is here the Shakespeare's mouthpiece to some extent, right? And Shakespeare was with the view, and that is the Clown, that is the Feste, is obviously that in this particular society, hypocrisy is at the highest extent. What it indicates, God give them wisdom that have it. What does it mean? That means the persons who are showing themselves to be wise personalities, God give them wisdom. That means though they are projecting themselves as wise, though they are projecting themselves as intellectual, but ultimately the particular pattern of wisdom, that particular pattern of intellect is completely missing from them. So let God give them wisdom, right? and those that are fools, quote unquote fools. Okay. Later you will find that somehow that the Feste will state that though I am playing the fool, but I am not like that, right? Just like Viola, as I mentioned in my last lecture, that I am not what I play. So you can find the same thing is being it can be used considering the clown. So the clown says, and those that are fools, quote unquote fools, that means the persons who have been uttered as fool or called as fools by the apostate of people, who are actually considering themselves as wise, but they are lacking that particular form of wisdom. That is the form of hypocrisy. So hood doesn't make a monk, right? It is the words of Feste. Feste says that though I am wearing the hood, I am wearing the motley, I am wearing the garment of a fool, but I am not the monk. That is, I am not the fool. Though I am looking like a fool, though I am using the attire of a fool, but I am not a fool from within, because I have much more intellect than those quote unquote wise, intellectual, intelligent personalities. He says, therefore, God give them wisdom that have it, and those that are fools, let them use their talents. Maria says, yet you will be hanged for being so long absent, or to be turned away. Is not that as good as a hanging to you? And clown says, many are good hangings prevent a bad marriage. Now, another thing you see. So you can identify that in each and every line and each and every expression that have been spoken, or the words that are spoken by the clown, these are somehow not superficial words, you see. These are not utterly meaningless words. Rather, you will find that through these words, Feste is trying to propagate something extra. That means the words are not only words. Rather, the words are carrying a kind of a philosophical discourse. The words are political discourse. The words are critic of the situations or the societal obligations or the societal norms to some extent. Now he says, many a good hanging prevents a bad marriage. What does the title implicate? You will find somehow, if you go through the text, that there is a particular observation throughout Illyria that there is a kind of a marriage that is going on. And what was the marriage? The marriage was between Duke Orsino and Lady Olivia. And we can identify with the readers, okay? We are much more intellectual than them, right? So ultimately, we can identify that somehow the marriage is not apt and appropriate, right? We can feel that somehow the marriage is fruitless, that somehow the marriage will not be, worthwhile somehow. So clown indicates that particular bad marriage, and he says therefore many a good hanging, that means killing or maybe the death or maybe a kind of a suicide or what it indicates, any kind of death obviously. So many a good hanging prevents a bad marriage. That means it is better to be hanged than to be engaged in a bad marriage, the marriage that is going on or that is impending between Duke Orsino and Lady Olivia. So therefore she says, many a good hanging prevents a bad marriage. And for turning away, let some be a doubt. And Maria says, you are resolute then. And clown, not so neither. But I am resolved on 2 points. Now, the vulgarity. As I mentioned, that these are somehow the vulgar tongue that the clown is using at this moment. The clown says, not so neither, but I am resolved on 2 points. That means I have 2 points, okay, to encounter. I have 2 points to justify my absence. And Maria says that if one break, the other will hold. That means you have 2 points, that if the first point breaks, the other will keep you alive, right? And if the both break, your gherkins fall. That means if the 2 excuses or the 2 points that you were describing in front of Lady Olivia, if the 2 are completely negated by Lady Olivia, then your gherkins fall. Gherskin is the particular kind of an attire or garment, part of the garment. Actually, it is referring to the pant, okay, that is wearing by the fool, the licensed fool, obviously. So gherkins fall is actually referring to that you will be fired from your service. But rather, you will find that somehow Maria is also referring to that the two ropes you see. The two ropes are two laces that are being attached with a pant. So if the one it is being told, okay, or it breaks, then the second one it will keep the guskin intact. But if the second one also being lost, then you will find that the guskin will fall certainly, and it is the apparent form of nakedness that will be exposed in the face of the spectators. So somehow, so these are some implicating or some words through which you can find some vulgarities, or maybe any kind of sexual innuendo, the punning, or these kinds of temperaments have been used by Shakespeare just to entertain his audience. That means the groundlings in general. The clown says, after in fate, good faith, very apt. Okay, well, go thy way. If Sir Toby would leave drinking. Now, the raillery, you see. That Sir Toby Belch, as we know, that in this particular drama, that in this particular play, we find that Sir Toby Belch is a drunk personality, okay? So, it was his fetish almost to be drunk forever, okay? So, somehow, clown says, if Sir Toby would leave drinking, you were as witty a piece of Eve's flesh as any in Illyria. That means if Sir Toby leaves drinking, that means he remains in his normal status or normal procedure, normal condition, then I must have to say that you will be the most intelligent woman in Illyria. And Maria says, peace, you rogue, no more on that. Here comes my lady, make your excuse wisely, you are best. So this is another section that I have to read, because you will find that it is the first kind of encounter that is between, or conversation between Lady Olivia and Maria and clown, obviously. Now, one thing I have to say here, that the clown, that is Feste, is of Lady Olivia's father's age. Okay, so that's why to some extent the relationship between Lady Olivia and the clown, that is Feste, it is somehow not just like a feed post or so. So you will find here that somehow there is a kind of a mutual association, there is a kind of a say relation between these two, like uncle and his niece. Uncle and maybe the niece that have been taken in consideration. So when the clown comes, and what happens at this moment, we find that in this particular situation that Lady Olivia's brother had died just few days before, and Lady Olivia considers herself to be cloistered. That means she will create a kind of a self-imposed exile. She will be indoors, and somehow any particular kind of a marriage proposal will be completely denied by Lady Olivia. And you know that as the clown has to be treated as a true guardian of Lady Olivia, then the clown doesn't approve it properly. And that's why clown is deliberately trying to identify or trying to, persuade Lady Olivia into negating her decision regarding marriage or regarding her life or so. So here you will find that the clown says, wit and it be thy wit, put me into good fooling. Those wits, now again, the raillery and also the critical judgments that he is passing on, the personalities who are considering themselves as the most witty and the intellectual personalities of the society. The clown says, wit and it would be thy will, put me into good fooling. Those wits that think they have thee do very oft prove fools. That means the persons who are considering that I am the witty personalities, or maybe the persons who are thinking that we are the witty personalities, they do very often prove fools. That means though they are considered as the witty personalities, but ultimately they have the foolishness within. And I, that am sure I lack thee, may pass for a wise man. That means though I am playing the role of a fool, but I have to be considered as a wise personality in general. For what says Queen Apollos? Better a witty fool than a foolish wit. A very interesting word. Better a witty fool than a foolish wit. So you can find here that the foolish wits are abundant in the society. Okay? Rather, so the clown says, better a witty fool than a foolish wit. God bless the lady. Olivia says, take the fool away. Okay? And clown says, do you not hear, fellows? Take away the lady. That means the clown is, reverting the words. Okay, he is stating that the Lady Olivia is a fool. And Olivia says, "Go to, you are a dry fool. I will no more of you. Besides, you were dishonest." And Clown says, "Too false, Madonna. The drink and good counsel will lament. For give the dry fool drink, then is the fool not dry." So ultimately, drink is very important metaphor in this particular play, because it is, as I mentioned, it's a festive comedy. So ultimately, any kind of joyance and merriment and mirth and jollity, these have to be related with such kind of things, you see. So give the dry fool drink, then is the fool not dry. Though you can find that he is playing on the word dry, right? Lady Olivia meant to refer to, or she was trying to refer to the dryness in the gesticulations, or maybe the jest, or maybe the humor that have been addressed. And now you will find that the clown is reverting the word and into referring to the dryness related to the lack of liquor or lack of alcohol or so. Beat the dishonest man meant himself. And the second one, that is dishonest, the term. He says, beat the dishonest man meant himself. If he meant, he is no longer dishonest. If he cannot, let the potter mend him. And then the famous lines, anything that is mended is but patched. A very important lines to be considering about the human being in general. You will see that here Feste is trying to propagate, here Feste is stating that anything that is mended is but patched. What does it mean? That means nothing can be mended. Okay. Or nothing can be mended, you see. Let's say, for example, if you bring a particular person from who is out of humor, or maybe the person who is suffering from any kind of negative aspects within his life, or negative aspects within his mind or temperament, and if you try to mend him, then ultimately can his actual temperament be mended? No. So that's why he says that anything that is mended is but patched. You know, the patchworks. So fundamentally, the inner temperament or the inner quality of a person cannot be mended. If he is a bad man, he will be inherently a bad man. If he is a good person, he will be inherently a good person. You cannot change him. You cannot alter. Okay, you can alter some sections, some patterns of his life. You can alter some patterns of his thinking. But inherently, you cannot completely change a personality. Virtue and transgression is patched with sin. And sin that amends is patched with virtue. So everywhere you can find the sin and virtue are residing side by side. So do you think that the words that are the fool speaking at this moment, these are somehow only stating something superficial? Are they completely meaningless? No. Rather, you will find some grave conscience is within the work or behind the work of these words. And somehow you can find that somewhere these are philosophical, somewhere these are attributed to the social criticism, or maybe the psychological criticism. Somehow these are politically loaded, somehow these are a religious perspective being incorporated. So somehow you can consider that the clown is maybe not a wise man. He is a wise man, obviously. So he says, if there is simple syllogism will serve, so if it will not, what remedy? So you cannot get the remedy. As there is no true cuckold but calamity, and so beauty is a flower. Beauty is a flower. Another term, you see, that it's Shakespearean ideology, obviously. That even in a minute, the beauty will vanish from you, right? So beauty is a flower. Remember Shakespearean sonnet, every fair from fair sometime declines. Okay. And obviously, he says that love is not times full. But the lady bade take away the fool. Therefore, I say again, take her away. And Olivia says, sir, I bade them take away you. And clown says, misprison in the highest degree. That's as much to say, as I wear not motley in my brain. So that is the term, he says, that I don't wear motley. Motley is the garment or the raiment that is being worn by a clown. He says, I wear not motley in my brain. Okay, good Madonna, give me leave to prove you fool. So I have to prove that you were a fool. Olivia says, can you do it? Dexterously, good Madonna. Make your proof. Okay, I must catechize you for it, Madonna. Good my mouse of virtue, answer me. Well, sir, for what or other idleness I will beat thy proof. Clown says, good Madonna, why mournest thou? So you were in a mourning situation, and why are you mourning? Olivia says, good fool, for my brother's death. That means my brother is dead at this moment. And clown, I think his soul is in hell. Now he says that I think his soul is in hell, Madonna. Olivia says, I know his soul is in heaven. Fool. And clown, the more fool, Madonna, to mourn for your brother's soul being in heaven. So you are mourning your brother's soul just because he has reached heaven. So who is the actual fool? I am, or you are. So you see that in this particular proposition, what actually the clown does? The clown was with the particular view that the kind of a decision that Lady Olivia has taken, it cannot be considered to be a good decision, right? He was with the particular view that somehow Lady Olivia Lady Olivia is a kind of blundering over her life. And that's why he has to consider that this particular kind of a mourning that you were engaged in, it cannot be considered to be very good. It's not a very good decision. So therefore, he is playing the game here. He is propagating that Lady Olivia's brother is in heaven. So as a true Christian, you see, as a true Christian, your fundamental focus should be salvation. Your fundamental focus should be to be in close union with God. And if a person has reached heaven, so there lies nothing else that you can thrive after. And now Lady Olivia's brother has already reached heaven, so where is the necessity of such kind of a mourning? And where is the necessity of kind of to be in self-imposed exile? Or where is the necessity of discarding any kind of marriage proposals? So these are the things that the clown is actually stating in front of Lady Olivia. Later on, you will find obviously there are ultimate other sections where Lady Olivia and the clown, they are engaged in serious conversations, obviously. So somehow what I'm trying to suggest here in this particular section, in this particular topic, obviously, that is Feste and his importance to the play, that Feste, though you can find that he is a feed post, though you can find that he is a licensed fool, okay, and though you can find that his primary concern is to earn some money, but ultimately, though he is playing the fool, you know, quote unquote fool, you cannot the same fool that we find in the circus. You cannot find the same clown that we find in the slapstick comedies or maybe in the buffooneries, you see. Fool in Shakespeare, as I've just now remember, that fool in Shakespeare is always being posited as somehow very important characters. Probably, apart from Shakespeare, you cannot find, well, obviously some experimental dramas in the plays in the later period or maybe in the modern, postmodern period, but ultimately in the so-called Elizabethan England or maybe the broader Elizabethan England or the form of dramaturgy, you will not find probably the character of a fool being presented in a tragedy. Can you imagine that? That Shakespeare was a person. Shakespeare was a dramatist who also introduced a fool, okay, in his tragedy. And it was there. It was in King Lear. You will find that King Lear, a fool, probably the critics considered that the name, that Edgar was playing the role of fool and so in King Lear. But ultimately you will find that somehow the fool is, to some extent, he was a companion to King Lear even in the most distressful situations, you see. Right? And somewhere you can find that the fool there in King Lear is no longer to be considered as a quote-unquote clown that in a stereotypical sense. Rather, you will find in the storm scenes where you can find that the macrocosm is reflecting the microcosmic problems within King Lear. The tempestuous turbulence that have been created within the mind of King Lear, and as it was reflected in the outer nature, you can find in these situations of distress, the fool was a true companion to King Lear, always trying to help King Lear in this such kind of utterly distress. So the fools in Shakespeare cannot be considered to be the superficial observations of life. you will find that the behavior of the clown or the fool or maybe Feste with the other characters, these are somehow very important. You will find that the way he is behaving with Viola, when Viola is in attire of Cesario, that is somehow important. If you see the film 12th Night, it is the Ben Kingsley version, you see. It is the Trevor Nunn production, okay, where the Feste is played by Ben Kingsley. And there also, Trevor Nunn was trying to implicate that Feste knew everything about Viola's attire. Why? Because for the first time, in this particular film, it is not being mentioned here in this text. In the film, it was shown that it has been the Trevor Nunn production. There you can get that Feste was looking at the sea beach where there was a conversation going on between Viola and the sea captain. Okay, and Viola changing attire and the garments, you see, okay, garments and maybe the ornaments that have been also marked by the fool. So therefore, from the very beginning, it has been implicated as if the fool could recognize Viola. Okay, though she was playing the role of Cesario, the eunuch, but somehow the clown, that is Feste, had the foreknowledge about the real identity of Viola at that very moment. So, but still, the implications are here. Ultimately, you will find the encounter regarding beards and mustaches, and so the conversation that is between Feste and Viola. These are interesting, and these are actually indicating to the particular situation. It might be possible that this clown has already recognized Viola. There are the implications, and that's why it have been elaborated by Trevor Nunn in his production of 12th Night. So the behavior of the clown to Olivia to Malvolio. Okay, another very important character, as I've already mentioned in my previous lectures. That Malvolio, there is a particular implication, there is a particular section where Malvolio will be in direct confrontation with clown, and he will to some extent the hostile remarks that have been remarked by Malvolio against the clown, it actually leads the clown to towards a particular situation where to take revenge was his primary basis, it becomes. So somehow his behavior to Olivia, his behavior in front of Viola, his behavior in front of Duke Orsino, his behavior in front of Maria, and also the other characters like Toby Belch and Fabian and others. These are, you will find that somehow these are associated with different kinds of mindset, different kinds of role playing. Okay, so you cannot, he's a very complex character, that I have to say. Why? Because he is transforming each and every opportunity into earning money. Okay, somehow the patterns of life that he is leading, and we can find there, he will beg some testers, he will beg some money from each and every one. So that's why he has to sell his songs. I will come to the song in my next lecture when I will implicate I will comment on the importance of music in 12th Night. And obviously through these songs you will find some different kinds of philosophical orientations to life that is being propagated by the clown. So what I'm trying to suggest here, that the clown's roles are very different, you see. When he plays the role of Satrapus, that means he was engaged in the particular kind of attiring himself and behaving in the particular plot, you saw the Gulling of Malvolio section, you see, that's how he is playing the role of Satrapus and to some extent guiding Malvolio in a different way. But he was also the person who brings the pen and ink, and obviously the letter. He brings the letter to Lady Olivia, the letter from Malvolio, and he is the character who brings the actual incident to the forefront regarding Malvolio, what happened actually. So somehow we can find that at one point he is the most intelligent character. At one point you will find that he gives the typical Shakespearean audience amusements. okay, that is needed in the typical Elizabethan society, while he is playing the role of a fool, and ultimately and also through his statements you can find that the intelligence is always in work. At one point he is commenting on situations, one point you will find that he is commenting on the psyche of the human beings in general, or maybe the social taboos, or maybe political discourses. Everywhere you will find the words of Feste are very important, considering the society, considering the characters, considering the situations, considering the politics, considering the psyche of the characters, that is the psychological perspectives, and also referring to the overall situation of the play. And at the end of the play you will find that the play is actually being referred, or actually being ended with a particular song, which I will discuss in our next lecture. And this particular song is to some extent commenting on the characters like Feste in general. That means how they have been treated by the society, how they have been treated by the upper strata of society, and so when you have to write an answer on Feste, or the fool, quote unquote fool, in Twelfth Night, you have to bring Feste from different perspectives. You see that you have to identify what the other characters say about Feste, or on Feste. That when Viola says that this man is intelligent enough to perform a fool, or maybe what Fabian and others, the lower strata of society, how they treat Feste, or how Lady Olivia treats Feste, or how Malvolio treats Feste, and how he gets in return, or what he gets in return. So somehow these are very problematic situations, very complex situations that Feste was in, and Feste's temperament, Feste's word processes, Feste's lifestyle, Feste's the struggle, okay, and also her performative skills, you see. That means what he speaks and what he sings, and how he earns money, and how he was desperate in earning money, okay. That actually indicates the considerations of typical Elizabethan world and typical Elizabethan, say, the class struggles that they were in to some extent. So that is the topic that I should discuss on, and it is being completed. So go through the text, try to identify the lines, try to identify the scenes where you can find Feste in his actual temperament, in his actual position, or maybe the actual the psyche that have been reflected through his words or through his speeches, and try to write an answer on it. Okay, so today up to this. In our next class I will discuss on that is the role of music, and I will take the 3 songs that are performed by Feste, and from them I have to tell something about Feste's temperament altogether in general. So okay, so today up to this, thank you.